Hi everyone, this is Dragon GGY and this is the 20th episode of Module Review Update covering the modules from the TT patch. Let's jump straight in. First we have Titi X, the new operator of this patch. Recap from the operator hindsight, this is a pure stats increase module, adding a considerable amount of damage and consequentially healing to TT. Damage-wise, 27.8% base DPS increase, 42.4% damage increase to skill 2, and 20.1% to skill 3. Healing-wise, 53.3% base HP increase, 70.9% healing increase to skill 2, and 44.1% to skill 3. For cons, well, you can say the module strengthens what she's good at, so against what she's not very good at, it's not getting any better. Not really significant if her enemies are sleep immune. And if you're using her mostly for crowd control or the immortality support, it's okay to not have the module all the way, but the improvement from level 3 is pretty solid. Next we have Hoederer Y. It's a very damage focused module, increasing his skill 1 damage by up to 75% when the target is stunned and blocked. Skill 2 by 37.5% and skill 3 by 36.5%. He's expected to deal 200k damage over skill 3, which was 147k without module. Compared to the 18% of Module X, that's certainly much more lethal. It also introduces a guaranteed stun that benefits skill 1 the most, and it comes with a QRL consideration that the effect only triggers after Hoederer blocks the target. Having that damage boost is pretty huge because skill 1 doesn't have the ability to stun targets before. Now it helps him clap enemies faster, which is very crucial for Crush's survival and his efficiency dealing with mobs. But still, talking of survival, Module Y is not on the same page with Module X. Less healing from himself and teammates, less damage reduction from the Sanctuary. So in comparison, Module X better sustained for when survival is more needed. For example, in IS5, tanking bosses like Quailon or Armia when you are low on survival bonuses. Module Y, better damage. Skill 1 has better mob disposal efficiency, skill 2 and 3 also gets a significant damage increase. If you do happen to use him in daily, I'd say Module Y is the better option. The different emphasis that the two modules put on his kit are pretty on point, so I'll give a 40 to 60 for X to Y. Next we have Rosa Y. The module provides a formidable attack buff for the Ursus student faction. We are talking about 45% for the members and 59% for herself. But realistically, and kinda a hindsight from the future, it's mostly dedicated to the future Zima altar coming in 2 months. Her skill 2 is a perma skill, meaning that one stack from this talent is gonna be always active. For Rosa herself, the module provides 33% to 51% damage improvement for skill 2, 38% to 65% for skill 3. This is without the limitation to enemy weight. By the usual standard, that wasn't bad at all. In fact, it's outstanding. But when we do get to heavy enemies, this module is still miles away from Module X. Not sure if you guys still remember, Rosa X was an absolute hype back in the days. 98% damage increase starting from 0 defense. As more of a faction buff module, the realistic challenge here is not having enough impact from the faction members. Aside from Zimalter, who's decent in AFK, other members including Rosa herself aren't that standout in damage and AFK gameplay. The synergy between them is also questionable. And finally, the damage scale from the module base is also very strict. Most of the time, you won't get the highest 12%. This problem is worse on Rosa than on Typhon Y because her startup animation is much slower and catch enemies with lower damage as they move closer. So overall, Module X is still the goated module that better solidifies Rosa's identity as a heavy enemy butcher with the ridiculous damage increase. Module Y is better against light enemies and light enemies only, and will serve better as the faction buff if that's a niche that you want to play. However, Zima Alter herself already has some good attack modifier to start with, so despite having pretty good numbers with the faction buff, it really isn't going anywhere. So 75 to 25 for X and Y. Next, we have Entelechia Y. With this module, she can now build up to 5040 max HP from stealing from enemies, and this is also more effective damage to enemies. It brings up to 42.4% cycle DPS increase to skill 1, 16.48% to skill 2 DPS, and 27.2% to skill 3 damage. A good part of it also comes from her arts DOT, which now deals 3000 total damage to an enemy once she touches them, up from just 1250. She now has much higher self-sustain from her increased attack speed and the new passive HP recovery effect. It goes up from 38.5 to 214.8 HPS against one target and 76.9 to 264.6 with 2 or more targets. That is 2 to 4 times higher. Ironically, this is much higher than the supposedly sustain-oriented Module X, who's at 92.3 HPS with 2 targets. The only problem is pretty similar to Executor Alter Y, perhaps more so. The base effect isn't that consistent, especially considering that Entelechia doesn't have any range increase outside of skill 3. But still, in comparison, the best defense is better offense. The physical damage reduction from Module X just doesn't have great enough coverage, while Module Y gives her more damage and self-sustain. 10 to 90 for X and Y for me. Finally, we have a Viviana Y. This module is mostly a defensive one. The expected damage increase is about 16% on both skill 2 and skill 3. You may not even block enemies when using skill 3. The real improvement lies in the defensive department. She has a higher chance to gain shields and can save up to 2 shields. That's a good way to help her survive the off-skill window where she's most vulnerable. What's also a qualitative change is that she has the ability to gain 2 shields from one attack thanks to all the multi-hits in her skills. Now she has a 46.7% chance to get at least 1 shield from a skill 2 attack. That's 39.4% for 1 and 7.3% for 2, compared to the 36% for 1 before. She has a 96.6% chance to get at least 1 shield from a skill 3 attack, and that's 21.4% for 1 and 75.2% for 2, up from 87.5% for 1 shield before. It's pretty safe to say that she's quite undefeatable against most melee enemies in skill. But for the damage side, this module is not even close to Module Delta in terms of damage potential, and like we said with Entelechia just now, better offense may just be better defense. For Viviana, her job is to make sure she gets the job done while she's still in skill, and for that purpose, I'd still say Module Delta remains the better option, while the survival bonus from Module Y remains a countermeasure. 80 to 20 for Delta and Y. That's gonna be it for this update. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you all in the next video. Bye bye.